think that it's so important to uplift one another.
Yeah.
I think it's so important, especially in the artistic field, because a lot of times it's just us in this
Right.
project, us in this thing, us in this mindset. The place I'm in right now, I just really want to help other creatives like do whatever it is they want to do.
Yeah.
That's like the place that I'm in right now.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Procrastination Radio Show. It is your host, Ian Complex, and today we are graced by another very, very special guest. But this time, I think you're on the top of the list because we have the same name,
Oh
and I
shit.
don't meet a lot of people with the first name Julian.
Yeah.
And it's every time I see somebody with Julian and then they do art, I'm just like, oh, this is even better. The love is even stronger already. I don't even need to know what you do. I'm just here. I'm for it already, bro. But
No,
how you been?
I
How you
agree.
been?
I agree, bro. Thank you for having me. This is
Yeah.
dope. Thank you for setting this up. Great introduction. Yeah, dude. I think I just piggybacking off of what you were saying. I feel the same way about other Julians. Like every time I see another Julian, I'm like,
Yep.
I just know we're on the same wave.
Which is good. It's fine. This is no beef at all. I can never have beef with you.
Yeah, no,
Um,
facts. Yeah,
no,
man.
it's
So
it's
thanks
been
for setting this up.
amazing.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's been amazing getting to research and getting to find your page and stuff you make. Um, of course, congratulations on Time Flies and everything that's been going on with that. But I was looking on your website before we get into that, and I saw something that kind of brought an interesting question in my mind. You described yourself as a multifaceted artist that combines creative direction, graphic design, photography, and videography into single practice. And it made me think about, in a similar way, how do you think people in your life that you love would describe you?
Great question. Um, I would hope that they would describe me as someone who is really passionate about anything that they do. That really just puts 110% effort into any sort of not only creative project but just any sort of task I like hold
Mm,
myself to. I would hope that people around me that love me would say that about me because I really try to focus on that as much as I can, even when it comes to relationships,
yeah,
friendships, anything along those lines. I really like to be very passionate and showcase like how hard and how much I really truly care about certain things. So I hope that that translates to people that I love because
yeah,
I think that I try hard in it. So, but yeah, it's
yeah.
a great question. I mean, yeah.
Thank you. Has that passion followed you forever, or is this something that's you've been building?
That's another good segue. I think, yeah, when I was younger, dude, like I think when I was in high school, I didn't really have passion for anything. The
Mm,
only thing I
mm,
had passion for was kind of like making people laugh and fucking around.
yeah.
So like when I was in high school, I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be on SNL.
Wow.
I was like an anchor
Yeah.
on. I went to Ferguson in Miami, and I was like a news anchor, and I would just fuck around like on the
Yeah. Yeah.
news.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I would do like Eric Andre skits, and I would like finesse him and throw him up on like the
Yeah.
news, and I would get in trouble and shit. So I think all I cared about in high school was like just making people laugh and like
Yeah.
being a clown. I didn't really have a passion for anything. And then I think when I got out of high school and I started pursuing a career in acting, that lack of passion really like hit me in the face. Like
Mm,
I kind of got like woken up. Like I was like, oh shit, I can't just like say I want to do this big thing and pursue this huge career and
yeah.
not put in energy or research or passion into it. I have to like
Right.
go in headstrong, you know?
Right.
And I think through that realization, I kind of shifted my perspective from wanting to be an actor to being a director.
Mm,
So then I kind of dove deep into filmmaking and dove deep into filming and films in general and cinema.
yeah.
And then that also kind of shifted because I would go on sets and I would do like small like student projects, and I was kind of I was very overwhelmed with like
Yeah.
starting this career and like
Right. I can imagine.
not knowing anything about not knowing anything about cameras and shit
Yeah.
and whatever. So then, since it was so big, and I was like, this is like kind of difficult, I kind of realized that I was really drawn to like good title sequences on
Mm.
films.
Mm.
So then that's where it started and catapulted my graphic design endeavors. And then I'm like, I've never really looked back, you know?
That's
So
wow. That's
I try to now, since
yeah.
I learned that back then, that passion didn't really serve me good, especially if I wanted to pursue a career in the arts.
Right.
I learned that at that point, and I really like, I've been designing for about 5 years now, and I've tried as hard as I can to just be the best designer I can, and
Yeah.
do research and just learn that the passion kind of helps with
Yeah. That was a beautiful answer. That
that.
that was that you. I was I was telling you before when we were just kind of talking about getting this together
Yeah,
that it's almost crazy how palpable the energy you have for it, and again as you speak to it, the passion that you have for what you do. And I'm kind of interested to see the stuff before, just to see like if even an inkling of that, like you being not there is in that, because it's just crazy how you can speak to these things so well because you do live it.
yeah.
Um,
And
and
I feel like that what you kind of crafting. I feel like the reason why maybe that speaks volume to you is because I feel like you kind of sort of have that same outlook. Because like
yeah,
even just naming a show like Procrastination Radio,
yeah.
how did that come about?
Oh, that's a good question. I was in a similar place where I was coming out of high school and I was going into film, and I it was hard because like you mentioned, just it's a money thing sometimes where it's like I don't have this or I don't have that, and you kind of get in this comparison game. So I was like, I want to find something that I can do that maybe I can do from home, and I just kept putting it off, just putting it off for years and years. And finally, I was like, I got to keep myself accountable in a way where I'll do a show that is either a week, once a year, something that's up and people can know and attach themselves to, that will be there. So I was like, I might as well name it, the thing that I'm doing is just Procrastination Radio, you know?
That's sick.
So it
It
was,
rolls off the tongue very well.
no, yeah, thank you. Thank you. It was good. And it's funny, in the times where I took time off from the show, I would come back to the show because of the same reason and leave the show because of the same reasons, where I would become very overwhelmed with something and then begin to procrastinate. So there's like 3 or 4 episodes of the old series that are just like, hey man, I had a bad couple months, but I'm back. So I'm like,
But
so
I'm
the
back
show's
and doing
working,
it.
you know.
Cool.
So that's
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 cool
very
that the intention of the show kind of also translates to like even just keeping the show alive, you know?
yeah.
That's
It's
interesting.
it's something I've had to fight with, like now learning to be a graphic designer for work. Um,
You do so, like because I know that I've looked at your work too. Like
yeah,
so,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
also a graphic designer, right?
Yeah, I
Cool.
haven't it came up kind of recent. Like I've been doing design for a year, and I kind of archived a lot of the art that was on the Procrastination Radio page just to rebrand it. So a lot of that stuff isn't on there, but um I feel like my approach to design was very art focused for the initial half of my time doing it, where um it didn't feel like it was focused at all. It just was very. I think I said it like during a week at work. I felt like my art was screaming, my design was screaming, and I feel like learning graphic design and understanding that world. It's like most times you want your design to like whisper, to intrigue somebody, to pull them in, so you can communicate these big ideas. So
Having things kind of when you I feel like when you say screaming, it sounds like things are fighting one another for attention,
exactly, like
maybe. So
hierarchy was bogus, just just, "Oh, I'll put 6 fonts on the picture. I don't care," you know? I'm like, "This looks
which
cool."
which I swear the other day I was like in like some
Yeah,
TikTok comment section for this design shit,
yeah,
and I kind of had this debate with this dude about limiting fonts on a design because
yeah,
I think that you could have unlimited amount of fonts, and like
yeah,
he kind of agreed, but he was also just like whatever. I just think it's like literally what you're saying, just visual hierarchy. Like
right.
you can have as many fonts as you want as long as you just organize them in a way where they each are their own thing and not like fighting for attention.
Exactly, exactly. It's just communication, which is interesting, and I'd want to know how you hone that in, not only in your design but your photography and everything else that you get into. How do you communicate with your audience? How do you communicate with yourself? Even is a question I wonder.
When it comes to design, I definitely like to ask myself questions. I like to ask myself questions and how I could interpret it, you know? So something like Time Flies was like a great project for that and a great
Yeah,
reminder for that. So it's like, what do the months mean? And what does the month what does the meaning of the month mean? What does that mean to me? What does that mean in general? And I kind of use that train of thought to like navigate to the design. With photography, I like to take more of an approach that's like I'm like the opposite of one of the guy who actually shot the cover of Time Flies.
yeah,
His name's Ian as well,
yeah.
which I know you're
Wow.
thinking Ian
Right.
Complex. um, he's like the opposite of me as a photographer, where he's like very like, this is the shot, this is
Yeah,
the framing, we're ready, boom. I'm very much the inverted, where it's like I just like see a good shot and I just quickly.
right.
So the way I think I express myself with photography is just like living in the moment and series of moments that I've experienced in my life.
Yeah,
Um, so I was shooting on film for a while and like point and shoot for a while, and that like kind of really helped do that because the camera itself was really good.
yeah,
So I could just be anywhere and the pictures would come out great.
yeah,
So that's kind of like how I feel like I express my emotions through photography and design too. So it's important to really kind of figure out what you want to say
yeah,
and figure out what you want to achieve. And I think asking yourself questions is a great way to get to that point.
yeah. I think I feel like sometimes it's hard as I'm not sure if you're the same, but you can take in so much stuff to get in the creative process, and then kind of like you mentioned with the bunch of fonts, you just want to use everything. In so I feel like it's good sometimes just be in the moment and have whatever comes out, and like even to speak to music sometimes
Yeah,
I prefer those acoustic moments where the voice isn't as perfect because I feel
definitely.
like that emotion and it feels a
It's
lot
like more
better.
raw,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
more, there's a connection to it. So yeah,
yeah,
dude, that's what's so cool about art. It's like it's all about expression and how you express yourself and how you figure out how to express yourself. Solving that problem is just it's fun. And it's a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
of trial and error, I think it's so important, especially when it comes to graphic design. And I'm a part of this club, and we're all like different, we're in different arts and stuff.
yeah,
But what I said the other day was like, for me, whenever I'm making a design, if I'm not liking it, if I'm not feeling it, if it's not hitting home for me, I just restart. Like I restart
mm,
designs all the time. Like
yeah,
I will like be 3 hours deep into like this intricate ass thing, and then I like give it like 30 minutes, and I look at it, like, it's not hitting. I
yeah,
restart because I just think it should hit. It should make you feel something. It should
right,
get you excited.
right,
It should liven you up. But
yeah,
it happens. Where you get into these rhythms where sometimes everything is hitting and you're on this momentum, and then there's other times where shit is down. You're kind of like everything you make you hate. So it's hard to kind of get out of that. But I think the best way is just to fucking just throw the bad. It's like throw the bad ideas out. Like
yeah,
if a bad idea comes, try it, do it, throw it out. A good idea will come.
yeah.
Digging through the bad ideas to get to the good ones.
That's a really good point. You spoke
Yeah,
about being grateful for those moments that you can capture. And
yeah,
I know gratitude is a big thing for you.
yeah,
And again, being in the moment, these things kind of echo in everything you say again, which is so beautiful.
yeah.
But how are you grateful for where you are right now? And
I think like you're saying like what makes me feel so grateful.
yeah, yeah,
I think like dude I think for so long like all of us, all humans, like in the process of life, we're constantly thinking about the next thing,
yeah,
and we're always thinking about this like this crazy mountain that we always have to climb. When in reality, like right now is so important. Like
Right.
every moment that you're in the present is so important. You know what I mean? I kind of learned that when I was younger too. Like
Mm.
I learned that from the movie Boyhood. Like Boyhood, I call it the Boyhood effect, right? You watch. I don't know if you've ever seen Boyhood,
No, I haven't
but
seen it.
you should watch it because you watch it, right?
Yeah.
And at the time when it came out, it was this fucking huge movie. Do you know what
Yeah.
it's about? Have you heard about it?
I know like the lore behind it of the filming process and everything, but I haven't seen it.
Yeah, like it was shot in like 12 years, and
Yeah.
like it was this whole
Crazy.
thing, and like
Yeah.
it was crazy, like even just that notion. But then you watch the film, and the first I've seen it a handful of times, but
Yeah.
the first time I saw it, I was like, I got to the end, I was like, what the fuck? Like the movie wasn't even that good. Why are people raving about it? Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't. Like, I even got kind of like annoyed. I was like, bro, the only
Yeah.
thing that it has is that it was 12 years, you
Yeah.
know. But as time went on, and I saw it a couple more times. I kind of realized that it's not a movie that is about the plot. It's not about
Mm.
that. It's more so. It is about the process in which the way the movie was shot.
Yeah.
But more than that, it was like the moments that they captured in these people's lives. That it was about the time. It
Yeah.
was so centered on the time and that
Yeah.
specific moment. And what that did for me was like, damn, oh, and that's another thing. Like it was capturing these milestones in life for these people. That's why it wasn't really the best movie because, yeah, he like fell in love and then he went to this and then he graduated from high school and then he went to college. So it sounded just like regular life. And what kind of shifted perspective for me is like sometimes we're always thinking about these huge goals, right? Like when you're in middle school, you're like, I want to be in high school. When you're in high school, you're like, I want to be in college. When you're in college, we're always just looking ahead rather than like really appreciating the moment and the time and these important milestones come and you got to cherish those moments. So I think that from then I always tried to like live in the present, and through creating art that makes me really happy, it makes me even more grateful because I'm like lately like I'm just so proud of the product that I created and how it translated. Like time flies was something that I think translated really well with people, and I love that because it was my entire heart went into that, all efforts. So that just makes me grateful, and then now I'm just even more excited to like create more things. Like I have a bunch of other ideas that I'm gonna do soon that just keep kind of that momentum of just me being so grateful to even
Yeah.
think of ideas that make me happy and
Yeah.
that I think people like. So um, that's why I think I'm very grateful, and I just think also Miami is just a beautiful fucking city that like
Yeah.
it's hard to not it's hard to kind of be upset here. I feel like
Yeah.
it's so nice all the fucking time. So like when I'm like annoyed, I'm like, bro, I'm like I can't be you can't be mad on vacation. Like in here it's
Yeah.
like a vacation weather 24/7. So
Yeah.
um yeah, yeah. So
There's
that's how I kind of stay grateful.
there's a lot of, I think, within the scenes of Miami and Broward and stuff where there's not a lot of people who share, unfortunately, that same kind of outlook towards Miami. A lot of people
I know.
see it for all the sides that it has, but
Yeah,
what I want to know what makes you so not enamored, but what keeps you here almost? What keeps
yeah.
you in love with Miami?
I like moved to New York in 2019 for like a year.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I may go back. but
Question over. Never. I'm just like I
nah, nah,
see.
maybe. But
Yeah, yeah.
and it's not to say that I don't love Miami.
Right, right.
Dude, I don't know. I think I've just my whole life I've loved Miami.
Mm,
And I remember just being young and like my mom is from New York and my dad's
yeah,
from LA. So they've always been from these big cities, right? And in my grandmother's house on my mom's side, she had like all these New York snow globes. And I remember being young, like grabbing the snow globe and like shaking it and being like, wait, hold on. Why isn't there a Miami snow globe? Like,
mm.
Miami's fucking dope. Like
Right.
you see New York, you see the Eiffel Tower, you see Paris. I'm like,
Yeah,
bro, where's the Miami snow globe? Like
yeah.
Miami's dope as shit. And I remember realizing that really young because she used to live on the beach. Like she
Mm.
used to live on
Oh,
Miami Beach, like this nice apartment that you can like. It was just really nice.
yeah.
And that's like where I grew up. I was like, this is fucking
Right,
beautiful.
right.
Like,
There's everything. Yeah,
New
yeah,
York,
yeah,
New York is dope, but like this is also dope.
yeah.
So I think just like my whole life, like I've just been so in love with Miami, and that's what's kind of kept me here. I think also, like I was gonna say, is when I moved to New York, it also made me realize how much I love Miami. You know,
Mm,
because I just like I don't know, like I grew up playing sports and listening to like all types of music, and people are so grateful and so proud of their hometown.
yeah.
You know, so I don't know, just listening to like Wayne growing up, like all Wayne would ever say is from he's from Holly Grove,
Right, right.
you know, and like I think that sort of instilled in me at a young age to you should be grateful and proud of where you're from. You should like love your city, you know, because I'm sure there's so many things to love about your own city, you
Yeah,
know. So I think that's what's always made me like really love Miami and like think about Miami as this like beautiful melting pot of just so many uh different elements that really build to such a beautiful city, you
yeah,
know? Like
yeah,
it's so vast. Even like how you're saying Broward, like even when we go to Broward, like there's so many little pockets of areas that are just honestly stunning. Like
yeah,
it's crazy. I live like in Westchester, which is like kind of by Tropical Park, whatever. And near here, there's like Pinecrest. My brother lives in Pinecrest.
yeah.
So a lot of times I'd be driving through like little roads to go to my brother's house. And I'm just like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
this house is beautiful. That
Right,
park is beautiful. I'm
right.
just like, there's
There's
no
so
other
much.
city like this place, you know? And
Yeah,
so for a while, I've always really, really loved Miami. And I like to put Miami into my work somehow
yeah,
because, like, my first ever business that I did, I had like my own vegan food stand and
I
it
was
was
gonna ask
called
you about that.
Bloomingberry.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
vegan things on your website. I was like, ah, another thing that's. I was like, it's another connection.
yeah, yeah. I had a vegan food stand,
Wow.
and it was called Bloomingberry, and it was back in like 2018 is when I started it.
Yeah,
We did it for about 2 years, and it was all Miami-inspired food, but vegan. You feel
yeah.
me? So we had like
Crazy.
empanadas, we had arepas,
Yeah,
we did like a bunch of ceviche, we did a bunch of cool things that were all inspired by the food that you find in Miami.
yeah,
So I think that that's what started off my like young, I, I hate the word entrepreneurial, but I guess like creative entrepreneurial
in your bag.
mindset.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I started. That's what kind of started it, which
yeah,
was centered around Miami. So after that project, everything I've always done that's been something that I create on my own, I always like to tie back to Miami. You know?
yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's how did you even get there? Was that another outlet, just like food, or did you come from a design perspective and people came around that idea? Like, how did that start?
It was like I was just in college,
Yeah,
and me and my girlfriend at the time, like we would go to this farmers market, and she was vegan,
yeah,
and I worked at restaurants, and I hadn't really started graphic designing. Well, it was probably my first year, prior to opening Bloomingberry,
yeah.
and Bloomingberry was the outlet that I was like, this is something that I want to create the branding for, and
Mm,
like practice branding
yeah,
with this brand, you know. So yeah, we went to this farmers market, and I remember I was just like looking around, and I was like, bro, none of these people have like banners. None of these people have like business cards. Like, there's so many opportunities to brand. Like, no one's
yeah,
really branding their shit. Like, I think
yeah.
if we branded our shit, we would kill it. So that's what we did, bro. We had that shit open for like 2 years, and dude,
Wow,
it did crazy. It did really well.
wow.
It did
That's
really well
that's
for those 2 years. But then, I ended up moving to New York, so we
yeah.
couldn't really kind of continue the food stand. But it was a fun project, and it just like I said, taught me and showcased a lot to me how much I love Miami.
Wow. Yeah, that
I
that
wanted
is.
to ask you though.
Yeah.
Are you from Miami?
I'm from Broward.
Mm.
Yeah, so it's
How do you
I
feel about Broward?
I I honestly feel like I haven't been able to experience Broward in the way that I've got to experience Miami, funnily enough,
Hmm.
because I was kind of closed off to a lot of things for a long time, just anxiety and different other things that added up to me just being in my house all the time.
Hmm.
And I think it was a little bit before the pandemic started. I started going out and going to sets here and there, meeting people, and I was like, oh, it was that big thing of like I thought I was the coolest thing since sliced bread for most of my life, and then I went to Miami. I was like, oh, okay, everybody's like this. This is cool. You know, and I don't think that's everybody's reaction. Some people get like threatened by that, but I was like, oh no, I'm nothing. Let's go. I can learn so much. Um,
I fuck with that.
yeah, so Miami is just this big, beautiful thing, and like you, I think I since I haven't been there, there's even more to it. Like at South Beach the other day for the first time, like at night,
Damn.
and
Oh, dude,
I was like, whoa,
it's the best.
like it's just everybody's walking around just existing,
It's
and
a
I was like, oh,
vibe.
this is amazing. Like this is wild.
Dude,
So
if I was you, if you ever have a night where you want to go to the beach
yeah,
and you have like friends and you want it to be a little intimate, you should go to like it's called the Faena district.
okay,
It's like on like 59th and Collins, I think. Not Collins,
okay,
I think it is Collins, maybe.
yeah.
But yeah, beautiful. There's like perfect parking. It's super chill. Like
That's the first thing to say. That's the perfect thing to lead with. Perfect parking. That's
perfect
amazing.
parking is like
I'm
yeah.
going right now. That
Next chance you go, dog, it's the best.
yeah. The one thing about
That's
Miami, I
dope.
thought
Well,
was
I'm glad
yeah,
that you know you like I'm glad that it sounds like you like have stepped out of your comfort zone.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. No, it's led to a lot of like this happening, like
Yeah,
meeting you through Instagram, through that web of people you meet, kind of just at every event and stuff.
yeah.
Um, and
I feel
just
like the people that I've met in Broward
yeah,
kind of have a similar like sort of outlook. Not outlook, but I guess the way they move. Like
yeah,
I think people in Broward are a little bit more introverted potentially,
yeah,
but I feel like there's a lot more like such dedicated creatives in Broward. You
yeah.
know, I think it's maybe because of that, like how you're saying how you stayed in the crib like
Right, right.
for a while.
Just
I feel like in
honing.
Miami, there's always so much shit to do that like it was the opposite. Like I was
Yeah,
never home, which made me kind of delayed in my creative endeavor.
yeah.
You feel me? Like
Interesting.
I was always like from when I was like 15,
Yeah,
16, I was like drinking, you
yeah,
know, going to like this club called Mecca in downtown when I was like
yeah.
16. You feel me? So like it's that's dope, you know. That's I wish I
That's
would have started my shit earlier.
I've never thought about that way, but I think it is interesting because I think when you're in Broward, there's not much to do, so you just go to Miami for stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like we're not there, so we're not experiencing like you said, just everything around you just happening. So we have to move into it. And if
Yeah.
we don't, we could just
You
stay
stay in the
put.
crib, you vibe, yeah, you stay
Yeah,
put
yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Just have time to hone it. But I think for people in Miami, I think the work ethic is crazy.
Yeah,
Like it's just light years ahead anything I've ever seen. Just like I
yeah,
know
it's
I'm
pretty wild.
busy, but everybody else I know from Miami is just like, "Da-da-da-da-da, let's go to." But then they still have time to be like, yo, pull up right now. I'm like, dog, that's an hour drive. I am not about to
I'm
pull up.
not good.
Like I love you so much, but it's not. I can't do it right now. But it's just
Facts, bro.
man.
There's a really good restaurant in like Fort Lauderdale, like Broward.
Uh,
Um, Milk Money. You know Milk Money?
milk, man. No, you sound like a
It's kind
foodie.
of I guess a little bit.
It's coming out a little bit.
A little bit. Like I just I don't know, I would go there a lot. I don't know why,
Yeah,
because when I had the vegan thing,
yeah,
we there was this like it was literally in Las Olas, right? There was this old like I don't think it's still there, but it's this vegan supermarket that we used to like wholesale because our main thing was empanadas,
yeah.
so we would wholesale empanadas there. So I would
Right,
always
right.
drive to
Mm,
there to drop it off, and I would a lot of times go to dope restaurants in
yeah,
Broward, especially vegan ones, and there's so many. Like the
yeah.
food scene in Broward is like really fire.
It's getting even crazier now. I think it's just like yeah, unfortunately a lot of stuff closed down during the pandemic. A lot of the vegan spots,
Yeah,
just
yeah, they
because
did. I remember.
traffic.
Yeah,
But there's
yeah.
like Roots Cafes coming back. Like that's a
Yeah.
really good
Roots
spot.
was sick. I remember that one. That one was dope.
It's insane. It's right by my house and it's bad. Like I was
Yeah.
coming off work. I'm like, yeah, I could use a burger real quick.
Literally,
Let me
that
just
spot
get
was
it.
fire. That
It's
spot was very fire.
yeah, yeah. But I think I was having this conversation with one of my coworkers, and it's coming out to me in this conversation. But I think a lot of artists or creatives or whatever the term used that people want to be called, I think if we strip everything away, we're just very like empathetic people who want to understand
Mhm.
things.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to see the difference between some people who create who are so focused on their craft alone, who are just who only see everything through that. You know, you mentioned the design thing, and I feel like learning, like me, a musician by, I guess, by gift, and then
Oh, sick.
a designer by like trade,
Yeah.
learning to hone that craft of, oh, this thing is not in the center, this thing is not there, but not having that, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm interested to know what you feel like was your starting point with art, and I want to know what you've kind of gathered along the way outside of just the gifts and, you know, the photographer and whatever, but those little things that might not, like, you might not even know to speak to. Like, I wonder what you kind of have seen across that journey.
Yeah, that's a really dope question. Well, I think like the first part, like what it started with is kind of how I mentioned, like um, being sort of a comedic person,
Yeah,
like in high school,
yeah,
and being like a kind of like a jokester.
yeah,
That's where I think my beginning um, creative like journey sort of began because it was a time. What I learned from it was like I just really love making people laugh,
yeah,
and I really love the reciprocation of it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
never tried to be, and maybe like in retrospect, like there's probably a couple of things that I would do that I would cringe at now, but I feel like at that time, like the way I was fully myself, and I never felt like I was doing too much because I just felt like anyone who knew me knew that that's just how I express myself, right? So I feel like that sort of taught me how to, um, like I said, express myself. But as I got a little bit older, I guess the tribulations that I would go through would be that that sort of reaction, that comedy that you say a joke, people laugh, right? I think when that sort of time and like after high school and I went to college and I did a little bit acting, that time when I wouldn't necessarily get that all the time, it would hurt my ego and it would hurt like my ability and I would doubt myself, right? So I think that's kind of in general what I think stopped me from acting. Like I remember I was a part of this thing called the Miami Acting School, and it was in Wynwood actually. And like it was just something I did on the side. Because I went to Dade and my teacher had recommended me to do that, to go through them, to whatever, to get classes right. So I remember I went up and like we were doing this game where people like it was like I forgot what it was called, but like you would go on the stage and people would line up here, people would line up here, and then whoever randomly would go in the middle and you would like do anything. There was no rules. The only
okay,
rule is that you couldn't say like certain words. You couldn't say like and, you couldn't say and if that happened, you get kicked out. And I remember like one time like I went up and I was, do you just shit? And then like the fucking director
yeah,
got like mad that I did it. He was like, "Oh, that's really gross. Like, why are you bringing up poop?" And I got so like hurt by that because everyone
right,
had laughed,
right,
but
right, right,
he didn't like it. So then I was like, "What the fuck?"
yeah,
Like I got hurt, and then I kind of stopped acting. But then what I realized was like I don't really want like someone to necessarily dictate how I express myself.
mm,
Rather, if anyone's gonna be able to dictate how I express myself, it should be my own self.
yeah,
You know.
yeah,
And I think taking the more route of design kind of taught me how to critique myself, see what I like. Like if I see a design that I like, how do I make something that's in that world,
right,
right? How do I
mm,
make something like that since I like it? How do I sort of follow that? So
right,
that
right, right,
design follows like is my guideline, is my director,
yeah,
you know? So I think that that's kind of what helped me. I feel like express myself and become
yeah,
a better artist. And now I just to that point on where I started. Now I just try to never doubt myself,
mm,
because even if like I don't like a design or I make something that big, whatever, anything I ever do for anyone, I don't give it to them unless I like it.
mm,
So it's
mm,
important to
wow,
be your own like hard critic,
yeah,
be your own whatever. Because at that point, if I like it, and you don't, that's fine.
Right. Right.
Now, how can we make something that you like? Because I'm not hurt by it because I already made something that I like, you know.
Yeah.
So now as my job as like a visual problem solver, how can I get you something that you like? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Right. Right.
I think that's how I kind of have navigated through my creative endeavors and been able
Yeah.
to deal with problems and kind of come up on the other
That's another really good explanation because
side.
it's just
I
like you're
appreciate
answering
it.
all these questions. I'm in this weird space right now with work specifically
Yeah.
to where I'm designing things that I've been stuck designing something that's supposed to go. It's like an evergreen campaign,
Okay.
and in the process of designing it, I've fallen in and out of love with what I was making
Mm.
to the point where sometimes I'm just like, and I'll get mad at myself the next day because I was like, the day will pile up, boss does this, my friend does that, a bird looked at me the wrong way, and I'm kind of just like pissed off. By the end of the day, I'm like, all right, send the files, take the PSD, I'm done, whatever, whatever, and then I'll see the ad on my phone on red on like on what do you call it, Pinterest or something.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
yeah. I hate it.
like okay, it's done, but like, but it's just in the back of my head, so I'm like, oh, I can't make that mistake again,
Oh,
you know.
yeah. No,
But
I know how that is. That's
yeah,
sometimes how it is working with client work though, you know?
yeah,
Like that's why I think what I always try to do to avoid that is like
yeah,
I just try to first make I learned this at my last job, like
yeah,
first make 3 designs, right?
mm,
If you're working with clients, right? You make one design that you think that they would want,
yeah,
that or like the direction that they're giving you.
yeah,
Like literally just fucking if they give you references, damn near copy it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
2, do a little bit of what you think they want and a little bit of what you want, and then do
mm,
what you want, and
mm,
then always present in threes. And I think that that's the best way to avoid you from feeling like, fuck, bro, like I could have
right,
like the what if factor,
yeah,
like the what could have been. It avoids that because you already tried. You already did as much as you can to know what it could have been. You know what
right,
I'm
right.
saying?
Because you're not given just the one option. It's like, oh, this is the end all be all. So it's like you can't
Yeah,
be. Yeah, that makes a lot of
exactly.
sense. That makes a lot of
So
sense.
it kind of just helps. It helps us as
Yeah,
designers because a lot of times depending on who you work with, a lot of times we're told what they want. We're told what
right.
the client tells us exactly what they want, and we just follow orders.
Yeah,
Whereas sometimes, like I think it's very important to challenge whoever you're working with to say, here's what you wanted, and
yeah,
here's what I think you wanted, and here's what I think you
yeah,
should do. You know, so it's like
yeah,
those 3 options allows them to be like, damn, that is what I wanted, but now seeing it, like I don't really like know if I like it that much.
yeah,
And then I fuck with yours, but then damn, this one's a perfect blend of both.
yeah,
So it's like usually it always works.
yeah.
And what always ends up happening for me is that like it always kind of shifts to like what my favorite thing, because then it's like now they know they see the potential and they're like, oh
Yeah.
shit, like you kind of put them on,
It's
So,
it's so funny that like how important speaking to your design is
yeah,
because you could deliver the best thing, but if people don't know what they're looking at, they won't
yeah,
understand. They'll go with something that's a lot safer. So that's one of the
mm,
other things I'm very thankful for this job because not only in this scenario of just like design, but I think for myself, just like I have an idea and I believe in it,
yeah,
and I need to be able to back it up and be able to defend it, and if it's just a silly thing, I should be like, it's a silly thing I care about, I believe in this wholeheartedly,
100%.
and but at the same time being open to change. And I think sometimes people, if you present something, oh my goodness, I don't want to break their heart. I'm like, dog, I want to communicate your idea better. Like we're not
Yeah,
fighting here. Like it's not a
there's
battle.
no, yeah, it's not a battle. Yeah,
Yeah,
literally. Where
it's
are you working at?
this place. Yeah, this company called. So
Dope.
it's just yeah, it's a cool. Funnily enough, one of my good friends Jackson, he was working there, and on I think one of the last episodes I put out before he like gave me the job offer like in the beginning of the episode. So
Oh,
it's
sick.
like a crazy time capsule before, and there's
Of how you got the job.
yeah, yeah, and I'm excited because part of the reason I archived all the old stuff, and I'm gonna put it back up eventually, but
Yeah.
I think, like you mentioned, the focus was so different because I felt like I needed to stand out and be loud and get my idea across, and um, it wasn't really uniformed. I didn't know about guidelines. I didn't know about, you know, organizing things. I didn't know
Yeah,
about all these little details that help me be able to create better.
yeah,
Because you learn that when you set up these things and have a font, have colors together, have everything in a place where you can grab them and go, you're able to get a little crazier when you
yeah,
want to.
yeah.
And I'm interested to see for you, is your process design and creativity, is it a clean process? Are you like 1,000 documents on the desktop at one time, or you like I got 3 folders only?
I definitely am extremely organized when it comes to the way I
Yeah,
organize my work.
yeah,
And I like to work. It depends on what I'm working on, but if I'm working on like a logo
yeah.
or if I'm working on an album cover, those kind of workflows are really different.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, so I think when it comes to logos, sometimes it could be a little bit cleaner than an album cover because with album covers, like I'll do half on Illustrator, I'll do half on
Yeah,
Photoshop.
yeah.
So it's like that transition kind of
Right,
makes it
right.
messy. But yeah, I try to be as like clean as possible, even in my own home too, because
Yeah,
like if the space isn't clean for me, it's hard for me to like be so open to new ideas. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
maybe,
yeah,
or even just creating comfortably.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, that's kind of how I like try to always start when I make something. I always try to make it as organized and clean as possible. Because if
yeah.
not, it's just like I don't know. I just feel like cluttered, you know.
Yeah, he's just like, "Ah, ah."
Yeah,
He's
it's
just
just
like,
too much
"Ah,
going on.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no, 100%, dude.
The process is such a beautiful thing to learn, and I think it's
Yeah,
always changing, and when you feel that it's wrong, it's wrong.
yeah,
It's just bad, and you
yeah,
just gotta stop it, because if you don't stop, it's gonna continue to go
definitely.
down the
The
drain.
process of making things is always very interesting because
Yeah.
it's like I think for a while what I was doing was following. I always tried to follow a similar process,
Mhm.
right? And I think as I've designed more, I always try to break that process sometimes because
Mm.
like getting so caught up in the same sort of process, I end up making something very similar to
Right.
maybe another design that I
Just by, yeah, by
made,
nature, yeah.
which sometimes I feel like when I critique myself, I'm like, damn, maybe I could have a little bit more of a cohesive sort of design style. Like if you're working with Brainwave, you know exactly what it's going to come out to be.
Right,
Sometimes it's not really like that. But
right.
for me, that's kind of like my favorite part. It's like
Yeah,
I can make something that looks like a punk poster that I love,
yeah,
but I could also make a really clean, sleek, like branding for, like, I just did this branding for my homegirls, like napkin, like wedding napkins,
yeah. Oh, it's
where it's like
hard.
this, like, nice, like sans serif and it's
Yeah,
stretched and
yeah,
warped and it's very clean, So that's kind of like my favorite thing about working is like the the many different fields and many different hats you can wear,
yeah,
and I think that all boils down to how important it is to kind of switch your process up sometimes.
yeah,
I never want to ever make anything where I feel like I've done this a million times. I feel like every time I design, it's always something, it's always a new train of thought. So.
yeah. Who are you looking to? Who's inspiring you in the world of design? And even, are there other mediums that are affecting your design?
Hmm. Um, I really love like in terms of like just Instagram people.
Yeah,
There's this guy Nick Dapolito that I love. He's
okay,
super fire.
yeah,
The guy who did Steve Lacy's album cover and
yeah.
Motomami and shit.
Crazy.
Victor H something. Guy's
Yeah,
insane. That
yeah.
guy is out of his mind. Um, who else? I love like what's his name? Lost My Mind or Lose Your Mind or something
I
in
know.
my mind or something like that. He did Brent Faiyaz's "Fuck the World."
Yeah,
So in terms of like graphic designers, like those are like some of my favorites.
yeah,
But artists in general, I mean, of course, it's like I know this is basic, but dude, Tyler the Creator is just like someone that I look to all the time, like
yeah, yeah,
all the time when it comes to how I think and how I
Yeah.
try to maneuver through anything that I try to do creatively.
Yeah.
I think like I was in high school when like Odd Future was like going crazy, and
Yeah.
I went to the show in the Fillmore like on Halloween. It was
Wow.
insane. And ever since then, like anything Tyler has done, I've always like had my pen and paper up. You feel me? And
Yeah.
it's helped me. Like
Yeah.
even with Time Flies, like he had this one interview that he had mentioned that he was like, I don't get how people make these songs or these albums and they post it on their story once and they just forget about it or
Right.
they never
Yeah.
post about it again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And he's like, bro, I made Call Me If You Get Lost like 2 years ago. I'm still promoting that shit. So that inspired me to say, you know what? With this calendar, I'm gonna try as hard as I fucking can to market it because why not? Like,
Yeah.
what could I lose by trying really, really hard on something and
Yeah.
just thinking of other ways to market a product? You feel me?
Yeah.
So that's a dude that just on the daily just really, really, really inspires me 24/7. And then I'm just inspired, like I said, by Miami, like the many little intricacies and the beautiful weather and like
Yeah.
the beautiful days just inspire me to just create happily. So that's what kind of I feel like when I hear the word inspire, when
Yeah.
the conversation of inspiration comes up, it's kind of like what brings me happiness, what brings me fulfillment, what brings me excitement. Um, and Miami does all that for me. So that's how I try to like.
Yeah.
That's why I say it kind of goes. I put Miami into everything that I do
Yeah.
because it's how Miami makes me feel.
Yeah.
Is how
Wow.
I express that through my work.
I wish I had a dang like siren button because all these things you're saying is just great. Like it's just run it
Fucking
back. Like
you know who would do that? This T Pain on his radio and his like
yeah.
podcast. He has
Yeah.
like a lot of good sound effects.
Yeah. That's gonna be the new investment for the next season. Just soundboard. I'm just not gonna tell the guests. I'm just like, oh really? Intimate moment.
Bam. That'd be hilarious.
No,
Yeah.
that's
No, for real though,
sick.
I think especially when it comes to marketing too, and just like
Yeah.
it's so important to just have fun, dude, and just
Yeah.
like just put your all into it and have a blast,
Yeah.
and there's no other way to kind of make things. Do you find
Yeah.
yourself having fun when it comes to procrastination radio or any work that you do?
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about marketing, and I think it's a good to put both the fun and marketing, like you were saying. But
Yeah.
I remember coming into it, it was a thing where I didn't feel secure enough in the product to promote it, which is so
Mm.
backwards now that I say it out loud. Like I'm
No,
putting
but
out this.
it happens though.
No, it's real, yeah. I'm putting out this thing, and I'm feeling really good about it. I'm sending it to like the homies and
Yeah,
little
I've
people.
done that.
And it's just like it's just there, and I'm like, "Why does this only have 6 views?" And it's like, "'Cause
Yeah.
you didn't put it out." So
Yeah.
I through that process, there were a lot of references. I know a lot of the early show was influenced by Adult Swim a lot, and
Mm.
it 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 felt alive because it was my personality, and it felt like an escape because,
Yeah.
again, I was very to myself to the time, so it was like my one place to show off, like, "Alright, cool. I can do a nice edit. I could do this. I can have fun. Like, oh, it's a voiceover now. It's a whatever, you know. And through that, it kind of got me into like audio drama. So I was writing an audio drama because I was doing
Oh, sick.
these intros on the episodes that were just so grandiose, and I just didn't know how to communicate that to Instagram or to Twitter or whatever.
Yeah,
So
that sounds dope. I would love to like hear
I'll
them.
send you some because they're now that I'm in this point of my life, I'm like, I'll send you whatever. Like
Yeah,
it's
fuck it.
like it's good. Um, but I think during the year that I took off to do just kind of focus and set myself into the job, realizing and being behind the scenes of a lot of campaigns and noticing a lot of things, I'm like, all right, I've been blessed with the ideas to make these things work.
Yeah.
So I think now that I have the tools, I think the most fun I'm ever gonna have is about to be what's coming out now.
Mm.
Because I don't have to worry about branding now. I was like, okay, I got that done. I don't have to worry about what my font is. I got that done already. Now I can go buck wild. So it's like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
skits, it's things that don't even make sense to the content. I'm just like, I want to have the most
yeah.
fun possible.
Yeah,
And
facts.
sometimes I get stuck in just the like one of the biggest things I had to learn was letting my ideas have a life.
Mm.
So if I have an idea, I gotta bake it a little bit before I try to pass it off, and before I try to kill it, I just gotta let it kind
I
of
like that.
kind of do its own thing for a little bit. So I've been deciding what I should give energy to, what should have more of my attention, just with life and other things like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I'm excited to really really go deep into it. And another big thing which I want to kind of ask you about is sometimes I get frustrated because the product doesn't match what I had in my head,
Mm.
and I'll look at the references again. I'm like, man, this,
I don't. Yeah. Like
it's
I thought I could have made. Yeah. Like
right,
a disconnect.
And so how do you feel when something comes out that way, and like how do you roll with those punches?
Yeah. I think like limiting expectations for
Mm,
yourself is like very important, and I
mm,
think that that's what has always like allowed me to not disappoint myself
yeah,
because I try to just have no expectations. And I actually had a debate with someone the other day about that. Like, have no expectations for anything. Try as
yeah,
hard as you can, but don't have any expectations because you
yeah,
never know what can happen.
right,
So it's so important to avoid having expectations. Trying your fucking hardest. I'm not saying don't have any expectations and then don't
yeah,
do anything. No, still try as hard as you can,
yeah,
but avoiding having an expectation on where you will be, how a design will look, where the project will go, will just help you like you're kind of prepared for anything because you're
yeah,
just like I don't expect any. I'm preparing for the hoping for the best, preparing for the worst. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
kind of I think that's a little bit deeper, but I think that that's on a surface level, like having no expectation is the way I try to like is the way I allow myself to not get so uh, affected by the outcome of something. You know,
right,
because like I said, I think if the outcome is that I just don't like it, then I just restart. I don't get upset. I don't get frustrated. I don't get mad at myself. But it's hard. I mean,
yeah,
there's times where, like I said, when that cycle is just going and for like a week or a couple of days, you're
yeah,
just making a
yeah,
bunch of things that you hate. It's hard to be positive, of course. But at that moment, I say, maybe just fucking play some Xbox, go
yeah,
outside, like talk to a friend, like watch a movie, find just like start, maybe just forgetting about it and then opening it with a clean slate. That's how I try to like move when it comes to like the negative part of making art.
yeah.
The frustrating part about making art because it can be very frustrating. Mad art. No, for real though, that's like it. It could be, bro. Like there's times, dude, where I've made like 50 designs for like this one
Yeah,
album cover, and I'm like, I fucking can't believe it.
yeah,
Nothing is hitting,
yeah,
you know. But I'm gonna show you something actually because you said
yeah.
you could screen share in here, right?
I think so. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So there was like this album. Oh, maybe I don't know if I
If
can
you
show
if
it.
you send it, I could put it up on the screen while we talk.
Okay, okay, okay. I wonder if I can show it because it's not out yet.
Oh,
But it's coming out
I'll
soon.
blur. I'll
But
blur the screen.
but I'll show like a little part like here.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I had been making this album cover, literally
yeah,
probably like 30 variations or probably like 20
yeah,
variations, right? Which normally I don't do. Like I always limit my variations. But for this project, it's my homie, and I was like, bro, I want to like every other one that I've made, I really love. I want to make something crazy.
yeah,
So I hadn't made anything that I liked. So I kind of started I got inspired by like this like sticker design that I love, like these designers called manga,
yeah,
that make like really dope shit, and they have these
yeah,
really
yeah.
dope sticker
I was
packs.
just looking at their page today.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
fucking crazy. They're the ones who the other interview that I had. They're the ones who designed it. They killed
Yeah.
it. So I was inspired by them, and then I started. I kind of took a different route, and I
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
restarted completely. Took a sticker approach, and I started like just making like really dope stickers for like this album cover, and like
That's
that shit literally just like brought so much life back to me. You feel me? Like, so that's why like I was so frustrated with it.
yeah.
I would procrastinate with it because
Yeah.
I knew like after the sixth time of me going back to the drawing board, I'm like, fuck, like what's going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
why can't I make something that I like? You know?
Yeah.
But I think yeah, the harder you work on something, kind of the more satisfying the end result is too. So
Yeah, man.
that's what I
That's
would say. Whenever you're frustrated, just like keep fucking going because that great design that's gonna make you happy is like right on the corner.
it's right there. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like again a beautiful way to say that. I want to end with something that is very close to you, and it's just a question I want you to kind of think about and take some time with. So, where are you right now on your journey to becoming the idol that you've always admired?
Mm. Um, I said it like it's okay. That's like a quote that I kind of came up with when I was an actor, like right around that time.
Mm.
Because I was
Wow.
like, yeah, I came up with that quote because I was like, first of all, like I don't know, so many dope people have dope quotes, you know, like,
Yeah.
and I was always like, fuck, dude, like
Need that.
I
Need
want
that.
to
Yeah.
fucking, I want to make a quote, you know, a quotable thing.
Yeah.
Um, so back then I was just kind of like, you know, always looking at other people and idolizing them
Yeah.
and putting myself on like a lower pedestal or like
Yeah.
a step below. I was always like reaching for this idolization was always like a reach rather than like, oh, I'll be there someday.
Right.
Like it was more so just like, damn, like
Right.
negative, like fuck, I'll never be that good. I'll never do this. So through that mindset, I was like, bro, like instead of getting so affected by how how it hurts that maybe you never feel it either, um, you should become something that you should become that person you admire, you know? And I think the more you hone in on what you like, what characteristics you like about the people you idolize, the better way you could kind of follow, learn from, adapt into your own life, but also use your own judgment, you know, like putting your own twist on things. Like, I think that that's the way you become the idol you admire. And I think for a while, like I came up with that quote. I've been telling myself that since I was like 20 or 19.
Yeah.
I'm 27 now. Um, and I last year or about 2 years ago when I went on tour, I had told myself like I finally became the idol I admired, you know, because I went on tour and I had always wanted to go on tour. And I think I'm still there. I think I
Yeah.
definitely still have. I think I'm at that point where I have become someone that I admire. And I think if I were to speak to my younger self, who I am right now, I think I would be so happy, you know, because I had this conversation the other day too. Like
Yeah.
for so long, like I had these ginormous dreams, and I'm not saying I still don't have them, but as I've gotten older, with the whole boyhood effect, I've realized to just appreciate where I'm at now rather than making myself feel bad about that I'm not at the vision that I never possibly met the vision that I had when I was 20. You
Yeah.
know, like there's nothing wrong with your perspective shifting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's just getting older. It's just realizing whatever. But I've learned so much. I've become someone that I'm really proud of now. So that's why I think if I were to have a conversation with my younger self would be very proud of the person that I am today. So yeah, I think and potentially idolize me. You know, there was a lot of things that I did that I couldn't do when I was younger that I have done now, like doing public speaking. I was really bad at public speaking in college, and not that long ago I spoke at my college. So kind of everything comes back full circle. So I'm definitely at the place right now that I think I have became the idol I admire, and now maybe I could just work towards um, inspiring other people to become the idol that they admire. I think that it's so important to uplift one another.
Yeah.
I think it's so important, especially in the artistic field, because a lot of times, like, it's just us in this
Right.
fucking project, us in this thing, us in this mindset. The place I'm in right now, I just really want to help other creatives, like, do whatever it is that they want to do, even if it's just like a conversation that maybe uplifts that or initiates that conversation for
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
That's like the place that I'm in right now, and that I keep wanting to be in. And I also don't necessarily only want to do it exclusively with just artists. I want to do it with anyone. So,
Yeah.
for example, like this next idea that I have coming out, it's about Miami restaurants that have lasted the test of time,
Mm.
and I want to highlight those figures to kind of say, I know you've been here for 60 years, but keep fucking going. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we're all fucking rooting for you. Like, so many things have fallen. Here are your flowers. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Yeah.
so all stages of all parts of people's careers, whether creative or not, I think where I'm at right now is I just want to just
Yeah.
try to make other people uh, see the great in themselves.
Yeah, man. This not only I think has been one of my favorite episodes. This is one of my favorite conversations I've had in a long time. I knew something was right when your name was Julian, and I'm glad that it panned out. This is
Facts, bro.
crazy.
I had a good I had a good feeling about this too, bro.
Yes, yes,
And I'm
yes, bro.
glad you. I think that's another thing too, bro. Like the fact that you're doing something like this, highlighting someone like an artist such as myself. That's amazing, bro. Like you're tapping into a field, and you're having conversations with those that I feel like maybe don't really get highlighted as frequently.
Yeah.
So kudos to you, man. Like
Thank you.
this is
Thank you.
dope, and, and thanks for putting this together and
Yeah.
even just inviting me on. I'm honored, bro.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. No problem, man. Thank you, everybody who's watching. Hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. No matter where you are, if it's day or night, stop procrastinating. Go get after it. Peace, 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 peace.
Peace.